Good morning, everyone. Hi, how are you all? I hope you all are fine at your places. Since you all know that we are doing chapter number second, and we are almost on the verge of completing this particular chapter because we are doing last topic of this particular chapter, and that particular topic is social control. I was discussing social control with you in the last class as well. And remember that we are almost on the verge, we are almost on the edge of completing this particular chapter. It means that we will not only complete this chapter today, but we'll start another chapter as well, chapter number 3, understanding social institution. And why I'm starting this chapter, because we always have limited time, we always have 30 odd minutes to utilize our time. So I think we should always try to get best out of these 30 odd minutes, because if you would come to school, then you would have to attend at least 5 classes in a week, and each class of 1 hour. But in a week I just take 4 classes with you, and I think that's the reason it's important to utilize your time, right? Okay, so as usual, I'm gonna share my screen with you. So here I go. Okay, here I go. I hope my screen is visible on your screen as well. So this is class 12 folder. This is 11 class folder. Okay. And this is your chapter number second. We are just left with a small paragraph, or I would say few lines of this particular chapter. And okay, this is chapter number second, and this is your PowerPoint presentation, right? Okay. So PowerPoint presentation is also opened. Okay. So let me go deep down into this. Okay. So yesterday I started with the topic of status and role. Status and role are twin concepts because they both are related to each other. Yesterday I told you that status is of two types: ascribed status, and the second one is achieved status. Achieved status is that status that involves our activities, that involves our hard work to achieve something. When we achieve something in our life, like we get some education in our life, we become something in our life, we get some occupation in our life, we get into some profession. That is what achieved status is all about. And when I'm saying ascribed status is that status that you get right when you take birth, right? Suppose you take birth in a particular religion, you can't change it, right? Suppose you take birth in a particular caste, you can't change it, right? So there are certain other things that you get, there are certain other things that you get when you take birth, but there are certain other things that you achieve also after taking birth. So that was the difference between ascribed status and social status, right? Okay, so look at that. These are the kind of examples, right? When a particular person is born, that particular person may be male or female, so we can't change it. That particular person may born in a family that would have a lot of wealth, so he's getting that wealth, he's getting all the property from his family, or from his or her family. So that's what your achieve state is all about. And when we talk about this is what your ascribe state is all about. And when we talk about the achieve status, that is result of individual action. So achieve status means result of individual action, right? So this was what it was all about. And there are certain roles that are attached to every status, right? Okay, so that was what status and roles, that concept was all about. And today we're going to start with the social control. And yesterday also I discussed a lot of things with you regarding social control. Now social control involves certain techniques and certain strategies employed for preventing deviant human behavior in any society. If any person is deviant, what do you mean by this? If any person has been deviated from the right path, or the things that he should do in a society, that should not harm society, or that should not hamper or stop or prevent the growth of a society or the functioning of the society, that is what deviant human behavior is all about. If every person is performing his or her duty in the right way, or in the way that society expects you, then it's always a good human being, but someone who is not going according to society, according to the social norms that have been set up. So that particular person is a deviant person. So what does then what does what do we think, what do we do? We apply social control, and when we apply social control, then we apply certain techniques and strategies to, you know, prevent that particular person. And parents, you know, parents are kind of agency of social control. What do you mean by agency? Agencies are the organizations. Agencies, you know, agency can be a particular person, agency can be a group. So a particular person or a group, when they try to prevent that deviant human behavior, that is when social control comes out of it, right? Government, you know, restricts the unlawful or harmful activities of human beings. Yesterday I discussed with you that if nowadays government has, you know, the government has said that nobody will go out of their house without wearing mask, right? But if someone will go outside the house with wearing without wearing mask, so that will be not kind of a good thing that they should do at the particular time, right? So there are certain, you know, laws, there are certain things that government say us to do, and if we do that, then it's absolutely fine. But if we don't do that, then that's where social control comes into play, right? So parents, your government, and certain institutions, right, they all are kind of agencies through which social control is being exercised, right? Okay. So okay, so now I'll go move back to the your textbook, right? Okay. So now you will easily understand, you will easily relate to what I'm telling you. Where is that? Okay. So this is your, okay. So social control, right? So social control means obviously, yesterday I told you recalcitrant. Recalcitrant means people who are deviant, people who are, you know, who are having deviant behavior, right? That's what recalcitrant or unruly members. And a social control tries to bring them back into line. I'm sure you are understanding. Okay. 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 Now remember that I told you that एक फंक्शनलिस्ट अप्रोच होती है और एक कन्फ्लिक्ट थियरी अप्रोच होती है. जो फंक्शनलिस्ट होते हैं, जैसे हमारा इमाइल डर्कहाइम है जो एक फ्रेंच सोशियोलॉजिस्ट है, और दूसरी एंड पे हमारे कार्ल मार्क्स हैं जो एक जर्मन सोशियोलॉजिस्ट हैं. जर्मन सोशियोलॉजिस्ट जो कार्ल मार्क्स है वो हमेशा कन्फ्लिक्ट की बात करते हैं. वो हमेशा कहते हैं कि सोसाइटी में हमेशा कन्फ्लिक्ट होता है, और वो किस कन्फ्लिक्ट के बारे में बात करते हैं? जो कन्फ्लिक्ट रूलिंग क्लास और वर्किंग क्लास के बीच में होता है. वो कहते हैं एक टाइम पे जो हमारी रूलिंग क्लास होगी बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट करेगी वर्किंग क्लास को अपनी इंडस्ट्रीज में, और उनके बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो जाएगा आफ्टर सम टाइम. और उसके बाद जो एक क्लास बनी हुई है वर्किंग क्लास और रूलिंग क्लास की, वो क्लास खत्म हो जाएगी और देयर विल बी अ क्लास लेस सोसाइटी. रिमेंबर दैट कार्ल मार्क्स ऑलवेज सेज देयर शुड बी अ क्लास लेस सोसाइटी. सोसाइटी में कोई भी क्लास नहीं होनी चाहिए. बट ऑन दी अदर हैंड जो फंक्शनलिस्ट होते हैं जैसे माइल डर्कहाइम है, वो हमेशा कहते हैं कि स्टैटिफिकेशन हमेशा सोसाइटी में होती है, राइट? सो फंक्शनलिस्ट ऑलवेज सपोर्ट स्टैटिफिकेशन. ऑन द अदर हैंड जो कन्फ्लिक्ट थेरिस्ट होते हैं वो कभी भी सपोर्ट नहीं करते स्टैटिफिकेशन में. वो कहते हैं क्लास लेस सोसाइटी होनी चाहिए. ऑन द अदर हैंड जो हमारे फंक्शनलिस्ट होते हैं वो कहते हैं कि हर जो क्लास है वो अपना फंक्शन परफॉर्म कर रही है इन द सर्वाइवल ऑफ द सोसाइटी. अगर सारी क्लासेस अपना फंक्शन परफॉर्म नहीं करेंगे, सो देयर विल बी नो survival of the society will collapse, right? This is what your functionalist sociologists say, right? So remember that हर concept को समझने के लिए there are two perspectives. One functionalist perspective, the other one is your social perspective, right? So your conflict theorist perspective, right? So when we understand social control, then also different perspective comes. One is functionalist perspective and the other one is your conflict perspective, right? Conflict theorist perspective. So यहाँ पे फिर से जैसे हम stratification मैंने बोला कि classless society होनी चाहिए, कोई classification नहीं होनी चाहिए as far as your conflict theories are all about. और जो functionalists कहते हैं वो कहते हैं no society is unstratified, every society is stratified. So stratification कहीं ना कहीं functioning में perform करती है for the survival of the society and for the smooth function of the society. In the similar way जब हम social control पढ़ते हैं वहाँ पर भी functionalist perspective और what functionalist perspective, you know, what they think about social control, and on the other hand what conflict theorists think about, you know, social control. We'll understand that. Okay, so how functionalist sociologists understand society as essentially harmonious. Conflict theories saw society as essentially unequal, unjust, and exploitative. So I'm sure now you will easily understand कि जो functional societies, functional theorists होते हैं, functional sociologists होते हैं, like Emile Durkheim, they कहते हैं कि they say that society is harmonious. Harmonious means there is a balance in society. Everything is going, in a smoothly, and everyone is performing his or her function, and that is what harmonious society is all about. On the other hand, जो conflict theorists होते हैं, they say that society is unequal and unjust and very exploitative in nature. Now you'll easily understand what I'm telling you. Okay, so look at that. For a functionalist perspective, now we are coming on to the social control that we are doing. Okay, so for a functionalist perspective, social control refers to a functionalist. क्या कहते हैं? Functionalist perspective क्या होता है regarding social control? They say that social control refers to the use of power, use of force to regulate the behavior of the individuals and groups. Also refers to the enforcing of values and patterns for maintaining social order in the society. So कहीं ना कहीं what we have understood is that कि कहीं ना कहीं force को use करना, power को use करना, so that deviant human behavior, look at that, what word I'm using, I've already read this word, deviant human behavior को deal करना functionalist perspective कहते हैं force से या उनको values या patterns सिखाने के बाद उस वे से we control the deviant human behavior. ये है functionalist perspective, right? Okay, so यहाँ पर values और patterns का क्या मतलब है? When we teach an individual certain values, certain ways to do things, then he or she always does things in a better way. Like if you are sitting in a class, if you know the values, the moral values that you have to maintain, or simply the values that you have to maintain in a class, like you don't have to talk in the class when your teacher is teaching, you have to do your work at the right time, you don't have to go outside the class unless and until you take permission from your teacher. So these are the certain values. So kahin na kahin functionalist theorists say that values or certain force के through we can control or deal the deviant human behavior. But kahin na kahin conflict theories क्या कहते हैं? Obviously they will be, they will say everything in a contradiction to what functionalist perspective say. So conflict theories क्या कहते हैं? Conflict theory usually says see social control usually would see social control more as a mechanism to impose the social control or dominance. अब वो क्या कहते हैं? Yesterday also I told you that कि वो कहते हैं कि social control का मतलब होता है जब एक ruling class, the class that is dominating, so dominating class जब rest of the society को कहती है to work according to what they think, और जैसे वो चाहते हैं अगर वैसे function करती है society, so कहीं ना कहीं वो कहते हैं कि जैसे dominant classes are saying वैसे ही rest of the society should work. That is what social control is all about. So they are saying that it is something that is not good for the society. There is an inequality that is coming out in the society. Are you realizing inequality really comes out of the society? Because at particular time when dominating social group or dominating class is telling the rest of the society, the people who are not dominating, unko आपको ये चीजें ऐसे करनी है ना, आपको ये चीजें ऐसे नहीं करनी है, when they are saying all these things, so somewhere it is giving rise to inequality, it is giving rise to exploitative nature. So that's what conflict theory says. So I'm sure now you have understood both the perspectives of social control from functionalist perspective and from the conflict theorist perspective, what they say regarding social control. So kindly text me if you have understood, then only I'll proceed further. So kindly text me if you have understood, everyone. Kindly text me. Clear? Okay. So these are the two perspectives. Okay. But kahin na kahin ab hum samjhenge social control. Basically what we have understood. Okay, I've got another message. Understood. Okay. So these were the two perspectives, right? Up social control in general, in when we summarize it, or when we try to understand it, or generalizes, or when we try to summarize it, what we understand out of this means social control refers to the social processes, techniques, and strategies by which the behaviors of individual or groups are regulated. Obviously, behaviors are regulated, right? जैसे मैंने आपको कल example दिया था, when there is a regulator in your gas cylinder, there is a regulator in your gas stove, where when you use that particular regulator to keep your flame high or medium or low, right? In the same way, social control regulates human behavior, right? This is what it means. It refers to both the use of force and all those things that I've already discussed with you. Okay, now social control, now we will complete this particular topic within just 5 minutes, right? because we are just left with few lines. Okay, now social control is of two type, right? One is informal social control, the other one is formal control. Now what do you mean by informal and formal? Formal means when the codified, systematic, and other formal mechanism of social control is used, this it is known as formal control. Now, the agencies that practice formal control are your state law. Now, what do you mean by this? You know, when things are codified, means when things को properly written किया जाता है, systematic way से उनको लिखा जाता है, उनको code दिए जाते हैं, right? और एक मैकेनिज्म सर्टेन स्टेप्स के थ्रू चीजों को किया जाता है, वो सोशल कंट्रोल होता है, फॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल. अब जब आप व्हेन आई एम सेइंग दैट कोडिफाइड, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय दिस? क्या आपने सुना होगा जब यू नो व्हेन समवन डज एनी काइंड ऑफ क्राइम और डज एनी काइंड ऑफ ऑफेंस, देन उस क्राइम को हम कैसे डील करते हैं. सर्टेन लॉज बने होते हैं, जैसे हम कहते हैं कि आईपीसी की सेक्शन 420 के अकॉर्डिंगली उस पर्सन को 7 इयर्स की इम्प्रिजनमेंट होगी. उस पर्सन को इस सेक्शन इस आईपीसी के इस सेक्शन या 307 या 300 वेरियस सेक्शंस आर देयर. There are almost over 500 sections. If I'm not wrong, there are 511 sections in the IPC, इंडियन पीनल कोड. जैसे किसी ने क्राइम किया है तो उसको हम उस सेक्शन के अकॉर्डिंगली, उस कोड के अकॉर्डिंगली पनिशमेंट देते हैं, राइट? 420 व्हेन हम कहते हैं 420. नाउ आईपीसी सेक्शन 420 के अकॉर्डिंगली any person is indulged in doing any kind of cheat with anyone, कहीं ना कहीं चीट की है अगर एक पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल ने, सो उस पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल को आईपीसी सेक्शन 420 के अकॉर्डिंगली 7 इयर्स की इम्प्रिजनमेंट होती है एंड फाइन आल्सो होता है. ठीक है, सो कहीं ना कहीं कोडिफाइड होगी चीजें. सो फॉर्मल जो हमारा सोशल कंट्रोल होता है वो हमेशा कोडिफाइड होता है. आई गिवन यू द एग्जांपल ऑफ आईपीसी, इंडियन पीनल कोड सेक्शन, जिसमें बहुत सारी सेक्शंस होती हैं और क्राइम से डील करता है वो सारी चीजें. सो कोडिफाइड हो गया, सिस्टमैटिक तो ऑब्वियसली हो ही गया, क्योंकि एक सिस्टमैटिक वे से फिर उस जो क्रिमिनल है उसके साथ डील किया जाता है. और कोडिफाइड और सिस्टमैटिक हो गया. और फॉर्मल मैकेनिज्म मींस स्टेप्स दैट वी फॉलो व्हेन वी डूइंग एनी काइंड ऑफ थिंग, राइट? सो कहने की सिस्टमैटिक हो गया, कोडिफाइड हो गया और फॉर्मल मैकेनिज्म हो गया सोशल कंट्रोल का. और एजेंसीज कौन सी होती है? व्हाट आर दोस एजेंसीज दैट फॉलो फॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल? जैसे हमारी स्टेट होगी. स्टेट मींस, व्हेन आई एम सेइंग स्टेट, दैट मींस गवर्नमेंट, राइट? गवर्नमेंट डील करती है, राइट? गवर्नमेंट के आगे इंस्टीट्यूशंस होते हैं, जैसे पुलिस स्टेशंस हो गए, हमारे क्राइम ब्रांच हो गए, हमारी आईबी हो गई, इंटेलिजेंस ब्यूरो, है ना? ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर द एजेंसीज. मींस इनके थ्रू हम फॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल को प्रैक्टिस करते हैं या उसको इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं, क्योंकि हमें ऑब्वियसली सर्टेन इंस्टीट्यूशंस चाहिए, राइट, टू डू दैट. सो दिस इज व्हाट योर फॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल इज ऑल अबाउट. एंड अब हम पढ़ेंगे इनफॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल, राइट? अब ऑब्वियसली इनफॉर्मल तो उसका ऑपोजिट ही होगा. अब इनफॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल जो होते हैं वो काइंड ऑफ पर्सनल होते हैं, अनऑफिशियल होते हैं, अनकोडिफाइड होते हैं. ऑब्वियसली दे विल बी अनऑफिशियल और अनकोडिफाइड, राइट, और पर्सनल होंगे. अब उसमें क्या आता है? दे इंक्लूड स्माइल, making faces, body language, frowns, criticism, ridicule, laughter, etc. So formal social control हो गए जो हम अपने personal life में हमने use करते हैं. अब जब there are certain things that you need to understand here. Okay, so we are doing what? We are doing the informal social control. Okay, so there are certain things that that are done in informal social control. वहाँ पर if someone I can give you a simple example. If you want to go outside and meet your friends, right, but your mother or your father, they don't want to allow you to go outside because maybe maybe it's too late to go, maybe it's night time, so you can't go outside. The reasons maybe the reasons can be anything. The reasons can be any kind of reason, but what they do, they they maybe they change their body language. They start they start making faces means frowns means what do you mean by frown? Frown means facial expression, like raising the eyebrows or something like that, giving any kind of facial expression. So your parents are doing what? They are controlling you. Somewhere they don't want to they don't want you to go outside the house because maybe it's not the right time to go, so they try to control you, but it's an informal social control. So I'm sure you have understood this as well. Okay, so there are different ways through which informal social control is practiced or implemented. Okay, what else? Okay. Now there is a last topic that you need to understand. Okay, regarding this social control regarding social control. However, in some cases, informal methods of social control. Okay. However, in some cases, informal methods of social control may not be adequate in enforcing conformity or obedience. Sometimes informal social controls are not good enough. Not good enough means they are not, they are not as powerful as formal social controls, to to actually deal with the deviant human behavior. अब जो criminals हैं उनको उनके लिए why police stations are there, why certain sections of IPC are there, क्योंकि उनको हम informal social control से we can't deal with them, right? So कहीं ना कहीं what we need to understand here is that what we need to understand here is that कहीं ना कहीं हमें तब फॉर्मल सोशल कंट्रोल के साथ जाना पड़ता है. ओके, सो कहीं ना कहीं there are various agencies of informal social control. Obviously family, religion, kinship. Religion tells us certain things that we have to follow, and that comes under informal social control. And family as well, right? Kinship means something that is related to blood relation. Remember that when I'm saying kinship, then it is something that is related to your blood relation. Okay, then what else? Okay, then we'll talk about the sanction, right? This is now what do you mean? Sanction is also a way. Sanction is also a way to practice social control. Sanction is also the way to practice social control. Now, what do you mean by sanction? A sanction is a mode of reward or punishment that reinforces social expected forms of behavior. Now, just like informal social control and formal social control are there to practice social control, in the similar way, sanction is also there in the sanction is also there to 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 actually have social control, right? And we'll understand this through this PowerPoint presentation. So here is your sanction. Now look at that. It is right on your screen. Sanctions are used as a means of enforcing norms or desirable behavior for the majority of the people in a society. Now, what do you mean by that? Now, this is another way to understand social control. Sanctions are very important. Okay, so when we want someone to follow certain rules, when we want someone to follow certain norms in a society that majority of the society is following, then we go with the sanctions, right? Now, sanctions are of two types. Sanctions are simply another form of social control. You got to understand this, that it is another form of social control, right? So there are two main kinds of sanctions: positive sanctions and negative sanctions. Now, what are positive and negative sanctions? Okay. Well, the first part is positive sanction. A positive sanction is one exempling acceptance or approval to a certain action or appearance. Now, you'll understand this through the example. Positive sanctions can be anything like smiling, high-fiving, clapping, or giving a handshake. We give high five or we take high five from someone. Why we give high five to someone? Maybe we are expressing, we are exuding uh, our acceptance, we are exuding our approval. We are saying that okay, this is fine, you can do that. Okay, so we give high five. Okay, so this is what positive sanction is all about. And when we talk about the negative sanction, then it is opposite to that. It is disapproval, right, to anything. Negative sanction can be verbal, like telling the person you disapprove, or non-verbal, like making odd faces or rolling your eyes. It's something like informal social control that I've already discussed with you, right? Now look at that. This person is uh, is attending the phone and he's screaming on someone. So somewhere that this particular person is doing what? He is exuding, he is expressing his anger or disapproval. So this is what positive and negative sanctions are all about, right? Sanctions, remember that, positive and negative. I'm sure you are understanding. Okay, so now you'll easily relate to what I'm telling you. A sanction is a mode of reward. So reward means you are somewhere approving, you are somewhere accepting the things, right? Rewarding someone or showing your approval for something that a particular other person is doing. And punishment means when someone doesn't do things properly, then sometimes negative sanctions are also there, and that is in the form of punishment. Sometimes when things go beyond beyond limits, then punishment is there. Reward means positive sanction, punishment means negative sanction, that I've already discussed with you, right? Okay, social control can be positive, negative. I've already discussed with you all these things. Okay, rewarded for good behavior and expected behavior. On the other hand, negative sanctions are used to enforce rules and to restrain deviance. Restrain means to actually put restrictions to the deviant human behavior, right? Okay, now deviant refers to mode of action. I've already discussed with you. Okay, deviant reference to mode of action which do not conform to the norms. So जो particular person is not going to the norms, not going to the values, so obviously उसको हम deviant person कहेंगे, right? Okay. Okay. So this is what values, or जो एक particular person according to the norms, according to the rules नहीं जाता है. Suppose if any student is there in the class who is not, obeying his or her teacher, right? Then we go for the negative sanction, right? We do like that. Teachers do like that. Then they go for the negative sanction, right? They give punishment, or they sometimes tell that particular person that you should not do that, or you should not do this particular thing, right? So that is what negative sanction is all about. Okay, and that is what deviant person is all about, right? What is regarded as deviant in a widely. Okay, now what is regarded deviant? Up to deviant human behavior होता है वो कहीं ना कहीं, it varies from society to society. Now look at the example. For example, a woman choosing to become an astronaut may be considered deviant at one time and be applauded at another time, even in the same society. अब there is a woman जो astronaut बनना चाहती है. अब जो प्रिमिटिव सोसाइटीज होती थी या ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटीज होती थी, वहां पर मे बी पीपल्स वुड से दैट कि एस्ट्रोनॉट विमेन क्यों बनेंगी, एस्ट्रोनॉट नहीं बन सकती, नहीं करना चाहिए उनको ये फील्ड, दे शुड फॉलो सम अदर फील्ड. सो कहीं ना कहीं वो विमेन डेविएंट ह्यूमन बिहेवियर बन चुकी है उस सोसाइटी में, प्रिमिटिव सोसाइटीज में, जहाँ पे इतने फ्रीडम नहीं होता, इतनी लिबर्टी नहीं होती थी. बट कहीं ना कहीं इन द प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो, इफ एनी विमेन वांट्स टू बिकम एस्ट्रोनॉट, she is completely free to choose any profession, and she's completely, do anything that she wants to do. Engineer, doctor, go in the Bollywood or any kind of become dancer, singer. So nowadays liberty is there. और अगर यही चीज वो earlier primitive times में कहती थी करने के लिए, so कहीं ना कहीं वो deviant human behavior माना जाता था. इसलिए they have written that कि जो deviant human behavior है वो भी vary करता है society to society and time to time, right? Okay, you are already familiar with how sociology is different from common sense, the specific terms and concepts discussed. Okay, so now we have completed this chapter. We have discussed everything that was there in this chapter. We have understood all the terms. We've understood all the concepts related to that terms. Okay, so kindly text me if you've understood this particular chapter, because now we have completed this chapter, right? And Ayushi, Tavisha, they have attended the classes on the regular basis, so I'm sure they are understanding, or they are relating to what I'm telling them. They are understanding the context in which I'm understanding everything. So your chapter is over today. Okay, clear? Yes. What about Tavisha? Tell me. Why I tell you to attend the class on the regular basis, then only you will understand, things. Okay, clear. So your chapter is completely over. Now what you need to do, जैसे आपने previous chapter you have done the textual questions, and then you have done some concepts also regarding to that particular chapter. In the similar way, आपको थोड़े से concepts और कहीं ना कहीं groups के बारे में, certain groups और characteristics particular social group की क्या होती है, और stratification क्या होता है, social control क्या होता है, status and roles क्या होता है. You have to make notes, right? Proper notes of this particular chapter, or that was what this chapter was all about. Okay, Puneet, sorry, send it by mistake. Okay, no problem. Okay, so Puneet, you also have to do the work on the regular basis. No, look, many students, have not come in the class today, but remember that they are missing many things, right? They are missing many things. Every day I'm telling you new things. And remember that whenever I teach you this subject, I not only confine you to this subject only, I try to give you as much as knowledge as I can. I try to give you broad knowledge about the things, right? I include everything in my in my teaching, right? So that's the optimal way. That's the good way to teach, right? So whenever you attend my class, you not only learn sociology, you learn many other plenty things, right? So it's always beneficial for you to attend the class on the regular basis. That's the reason I always emphasize you to attend the classes on the regular basis, right? So okay, so we have completed this chapter. So you can read glossary, right, if you want to. It is also important. कहीं ना कहीं आपको you will get a good understanding, you will get a good explanation of the things. सब चीजें I have discussed with you, but if you will read it, it will be very good for you, right? Okay. And what else? Now you have to do all these questions, right? And also some concepts that are there in the chapter, or to the point बनाने हैं notes, और जिसमें आपकी understanding पूरी रहे. Right? Understanding is the final key. Understanding is our objective, right? We get the best understanding of the chapter. That's why I'm working hard to teach you, right? Not only through your textbook, but also through your PowerPoint presentation, right? Okay. So we have completed this chapter. Okay. I think I should stop share here now. Okay. So we'll start the next chapter in the next class. Okay, so until then, take care all, stay safe, stay at home, and God bless you all. Bye bye. Okay.